Hello all, and welcome to another to Mortgage Coach University 102, or excuse me, not 102, beginner session. I apologize. I just came off from another training call just about an hour ago. So I want to say good morning, happy Friday. If this is your first time getting onto the call or first time using Mortgage Coach, the purpose of this call is to be able to show you the ins and outs of the tool. So what we're going to do is show you how to bookmark the edge.com or the edge link. We're also going to show you how to enter in your username and password, along with demonstrating the home section and what's all included there. I'll also, at that point, we'll be creating a report together. We will also be creating one fee and also one product template as well to give you an idea. For now, what I want to make sure is that those that have your username and passwords, what we'd like for you to do is to follow along with us. So one of the perks is if you have dual monitors, want to make sure that you can see the GoToWebinar on one end, and on the opposite screen would be yourself logging into the Mortgage Coach Edge tool. And then when we get to that section, we will start creating a report together. The products we are going to be using will be an FHA, standard FHA 3.5% down option, along with a conventional 5% down. Should be pretty easy and pretty straightforward. You don't have to be tech savvy at all. What we would also like to do, that if you are going to follow along, you can send an email after the call to our support team, and you can send something similar to this. It can be, this simplistic. The main concept is the link that we put together, the link that we record, or excuse me, create the report for. You're going to place it into your email and then send it off to our support team at that point. The purpose of this is so that they can review the report link and provide some feedback. And so this way it just makes it a little bit better. It'll retain the information and data a lot better versus having to get out, once you get off the call, you go about your business and then you're going to forget exactly what we just demonstrated for you. So the best results from what we've found out based on our research is if you follow along with the call, then afterwards you can either create a report yourself or, again, create the report with us and send it off to our support team. This is the type of response that you could receive. And again, when you send it off to our support team, you're simply emailing it to support@mortgagecoach.com. So when you do this, again, they will respond similar to this. And then at this point, at times, what could take place is that, depending on how many reports you've put together, there could be, more advanced sessions, and they'll provide great feedback for you. Okay. The thing that we're going to do, and what I'm going to provide a quick overview. Because when we get into the tool, I don't want to have to spend too much time in being able to explain each field. As I demonstrate these next few slides, it's going to show you exactly what the tool does, the different features and so forth, and then when we get in there, you're going to actually see what we're referring to. So the first thing that you want to make sure is this is the actual login page, and the edge.mortgagecoach.com link, which our support team will place into the chat box for you. And if you don't know what it is. Also, if you have any questions on your username and password, maybe if you are an individual user and you haven't received your welcome email, you can always email our support team as well. Again, support@mortgagecoach.com. They can assist you with that. So the concept, you want to make sure that you bookmark this link. It just makes it easier for you. So you should all have access. You should have an idea of how to bookmark or save it into your favorites so that you can locate it, and then it makes it a lot easier for you to pull up. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to enter in our username and password. It's simply your email and then any password that you have created for yourself. What that's going to do is route us immediately to this section. And what we'll be discussing is new client, new partner settings, and those options that you see towards the top. These options will always be in place. What you'll see is the difference between these options, and that's what we're going to break down. So what the new client option does is allows us to create any purchase, refinance, and the marketing reports. Here, as you can see to the left, you'll create reports and it'll store the most recent. And I would say it store the most recent 15 presentations you've put together. So if you need to have access to it, you can always see that they're located there on the left-hand side. Now, the other option that you'll have when we get in here is you'll have an opportunity to create what we call open house presentations, and that is accessed by the new partner option there located to the right next to new client. Okay, so when you do so, the most recent partners or open house presentations you stored will be located there just like the recent clients up above. Now, if it's past clients, maybe it's past those 15 presentations you've put together, maybe it's been a few weeks or so, there's also this, or Edge will store every presentation for every client you've put together or every partner. You can access them by selecting the View All option, and what that's simply going to do is pull up a search field where you can enter in their first and last name, same concept for the partner. This is exactly how you would approach it at that time. So you can also do is select the search field automatically. That'll pull up every client that you've ever put a report or built a report for. Okay, so when you do so, this is what it would look like. So to the left, it'll be any marketing report that you've ever created and put together, any strategy files, which means that you can record, for example, let's assume you put together a rent versus own, an open house presentation, an FHA versus conventional, and maybe a couple of MI options in place. And it can be an introductory video, and what you can do is any time your borrowers have questions on FHA or what's the difference between mortgage insurance, you can now access that strategies file folder, access that link, and send it off that quickly. So there's a lot of ways that you can use this to your advantage. The other thing we're going to concentrate on is the settings section. Now, the settings section is where your contact information, your branding, this is one of the best ways to maximize your exposure. This information is what your borrowers will see. So anytime they share this report with anyone or anytime someone views it, this is the contact information that they're going to be viewing at the top right-hand side. So this is what's going to be branding you. So you want to make sure that this data is correct, and you want to make sure that it's updated at all times. Okay. The Images tab is, when we get in there, I'll show you what that looks like, but that is where you're going to bring in your headshot. For those that are individual users and you want to go ahead, that's where you would plug in your logo as well, your company logo. For those that are with an enterprise organization, you should already have that logo locked in, so you should not have to worry about updating that. Then the other thing we're going to show you as well is the help section. Here in itself, this is going to be your savior. This means that any time after hours, if you cannot email our support team for them to respond to you, maybe it's after hours, you can still go to the videos training library. These videos are not long. I'd say the longest video is maybe 10 minutes, if that. The average is 3 to 5 minutes, and so they're quick tips. You can always fast forward if need be. It's available. You also have a recommended playlists and scripts, so if you don't know what to send out in an email or how to present a total cost analysis to your borrowers, then this is where you can select the scripts option there to the left, this MC's training, and you can use any of those options. You can clip, edit, tweak it to be your own, okay? Make it fun. It's there for you. Also featured walkthrough videos. Those are the most common questions we have. How to get you started. So what you will see there is you have how to get help, which is in the red shaded area, featured walkthrough videos, how to create edge videos, and so forth. And so you'll see every topic, and what we're working on today is creating a purchase, which is located right there in the middle portion of it. The knowledge base center is where you can type in any subject field. Maybe it's mortgage insurance you have a question on or would like to see a training video on, then you can go ahead and access it, and it'll pull it up for us. One of the also benefits of the Perks to Mortgage Coach is that you will also be able to track any reports that you've put together and sent out to your borrowers, or maybe it's a partner. So if, for example, you've been looking to get in contact with this partner for quite some time, they keep ignoring your phone calls, but you've just sent out an open house presentation introducing yourself, and you've now received an alert that lets you know that, hey, Lisa Realtor just viewed this report and she viewed it for X amount of minutes. So that's huge. So you'll notice there to the top left in red, Jennifer Burton, that's a simple client that was created a report for. You'll notice to the right it tells you the report that was created, which was the report type, and also last viewed, which means that was the date and time that the report was viewed and how many times it was viewed. So that's huge. So anytime you send out a marketing report, you can track it, and so that's available for you also. Now we're going to get in here and select new clients. So again, by now you should all have logged in. You should be in this section. Again, when we get in there, after I show these brief slides here, we're going to get in there and show you, and we'll create the report together. So don't do anything just yet. So the first thing we will do is use Robert Purchase. That's what we're going to be entering. We're going to be completing from client, goals, and all the way through affordability. A lot of this data you have already retained, and you should already have this data in your LOS. This is simply to just create the report to get it out to your borrowers. So you'll see products there. That's where we're going to spend the majority of our time. Now the first thing we're going to do is create the product template. Then we're going to create the fee template, and you'll see how you can bring in one of those templates and what it does for you. Okay, templates are key. That will save you a significant amount of time. If it takes you 30 minutes, I suggest that you invest that time. To do so, just take your cost sheet worksheet and copy those items over. The analysis section, you don't have to do much there, but you can really make a lot of custom changes and adjustments. I'll show you shortly what that looks like. But you can also leave it simple. Just think of that area like your HP calculator. You can really do a lot of, you can really show a lot of benefit with that section. When we get to the products, what we're going to do is create conventional 5% down. We're going to abbreviate it. From there, what you'll notice is when we create the fee and product template, we're going to access this drop down, and from there is where we can bring in any template. This is what it would look like. So anytime you create the template, you will then access the drop down, and you can access any of those options that apply. What it will do is apply and fill in those red fields that you see there circled in red. So again, depending on how much data you've plugged into the product template will determine how many of those fields will be filled in. There's 3 steps in creating a product. So the first step we just showed you. The next step would be adding closing costs to that specific product. So there's a way where you can bulk the items, as you can see there in gray, but the most effective way would be selecting the closing cost details option there, and then at that point, once we create the fee template, you will then be able to access it there towards the top right, and then select the option that applies for that specific product. So as you can see, there's descriptions in the field. There's also ways where you can add custom fees, you can rename links, and then from there, once you've made the adjustments, all you have to do is just apply to loan, and then at that point it applies it properly. The last step in creating a product generally has to do with hazard insurance, property tax, and mortgage insurance. You can also now enter the reserves and the tax reserves as well. So we'll show you when we get in there. You'll be creating it with us, but this is the last step, and then from there what we would do is we'll select the add another product at the very bottom. But what you see to the left is those are the fields, and this is what it covers in the monthly cost section. And then from there you can also use factors to make it easier for you to calculate the data for you. So a lot of times you're not going to have to worry about remembering the dollar amount. Okay. So from there, again, as we mentioned, when we're completely done with this section, we're going to select this add another product option. That'll then reroute us to the exact same section to add a second, a third, and a fourth option. There's 4 different products you can place on a presentation, so you can really do a lot there. Now in this analysis section, as I mentioned, you will be able to make a lot of customizations. However, what we want to do is for today's training, we're going to keep it simple. We're simply going to identify one of the 3 options there located, whether it's total principal paid, total net worth, and total interest in MI. Now that's the standard default, so for today's training we will leave it as is, and then from there we would then advance, and it takes us on to completing the presentation moving forward. Instead, what I'm going to do is break this section down for you so that you have a general understanding of what it does, so that we don't spend the time there. This top left-hand side section, you will have appreciation average, which you can change, adjust, or delete. You also have the short-term analysis months, which covers, as you can see, the bottom left-hand side. And what that does is compares any products you have in place and takes their total interest, their total principal, and total closing cost over that time frame and gives you an accurate measure of what the total cost is between each of those products. So if you're comparing, let's assume, an ARM versus a fixed loan, depending on the borrower's, let's say, goals, if they're looking to stay in a property within 7 years, but there's a 7-1 ARM that may work for them at that point, you'll be able to see the difference there. So that's you can really tweak this to make it your own. Also long-term, same concept. Standard default we have is 15 years. You can make the adjustment, and again, based on the radio options you selected, the long-term will be adjusted at that point as well. Okay, so that's really typically what this section does. And as we advance, the last step is creating the product. Has to do with generating links. So from here is when we take it, this is where we're going to access the link. This link in itself is what we're going to be pasting into an email. But before we do that, we want to make sure that we add a video to the presentation, and really you'll see the button right below that. So the moment you select that option, pulls up the report, and you'll see how we can access and record the video from there. Okay. From there, we want to make sure that you don't create an email like this where it's convoluted with a whole lot of data. The moment your client finishes this, they may get lost in translation between the gaps there, and they may miss exactly what you're looking to, the benefit that you're working on, that you're looking, or that you're providing them. So again, with the link itself, you're going to really make it easy. You can rename the link as well for those that are pretty savvy, versus just placing the link that we have from Edge. So when the borrower selects the link, it'll pull up the presentation. And what it does is once it pulls up the presentation, it pulls up right away. A lot of us in the industry are still currently using this. Some of us for the first time may be still creating a fee worksheet and sending it off with the PDF. Well, the thing is with that, once you send it off with an email, we have to make sure that the borrowers access it. Maybe pull up the PDF if you're not meeting with them in person. But if you have to make changes, the thing is, you have to recreate the wheel, recreate another PDF, and send out another fee worksheet to them directly with that updated change. With the presentation, you can make any live changes, any adjustments. So as long as the borrower, for example, accesses the same link that you've provided them, they can see those changes take effect. So you will never have to resend out another link to that borrower. All you have to do is make the minor adjustments or changes or any addition of products you need to add, and the borrowers will be able to see that on their end. So that's one of the big perks there to save you some time. Ultimately, this is what it looks like, the top summary section when we get in there. We're going to break this down, but ultimately this is what you would see on a cost sheet worksheet: loan amount, interest rate, payment, cash to close, and in that more information box up there it will add the closing cost, the monthly cost, and so forth. The top right monthly payment savings, that's taking that 104 that you see there is the 104.12 that you see there towards the left in the green bar, and that's really just taking the highest payment, which would be in this case the more for your buck payment of $1744.71, and it's, if you minus that payment minus the $1640, that's the difference between those two options. The old FHA payment is $1744.20 minus the $1744 with the more for your buck product, which is the last product. That's a difference of 51 cents. So what you see to the right there is in graph form. The bottom left-hand side, a similar concept. This is what we mentioned in the analysis section: total closing costs, total interest, and total principal paid over this time. So here what you'll see is that dollar amount of $59.58. And what that is you'll notice towards the top, underneath that green bar in the summary section, savings over 60 months. So you see the $59.58. Again, that's the total cost for that product over that time frame based on that benchmark of 60 months that's in play. So the same thing with the $2,440, and again we'll show you when we get in there, but that's just giving you an idea. And the same concept there long term, so you get the general idea as to how that breaks down. The other thing in the perks to this, when you create the report, if you're ever on the field or you're communicating with your realtors, the benefit also is that you can also send a text message with the same link, and your borrowers will be able to view the exact same presentation on a mobile phone. If you have not downloaded the Mortgage Coach mobile app yet, I recommend that you do that before we end the call. If you send a simple text message such as this with the link that you've typed in, you've now sent it off to your borrowers or your realtors, whomever it may be. They can view it from their end, and the video that you record, they will also be able to see that. So that's the image that you currently want your borrowers to see. You want them to be excited in something new that they've never seen before. So it's really user-friendly to use. You do not have to be tech-savvy to use this. So we're going to show you when we get in there how quick and easy. Now, the moment they access the link, it'll automatically route them to pull up the report. Okay? So we want to get in here. Let's get in and show you exactly what that looks like. And so, again, you should currently see that I'm in the login page here. And I'm going to go in here and enter in my user. And for any questions that you may have, please feel free to type them into the chat box. I will be more than happy to address or answer those questions at any point in time. As a matter of fact, let me pull that up for us right now. Awesome. So this looks familiar. This is what we just showed you. So for those that are following along, do me a favor. Go ahead and on the chat box, if you could just raise your hand. This way I can see how many of you are going to follow along so I know how fast or how slow to go or just to keep it average. So awesome. I appreciate that, Darren. So Darren's going to follow along with us. Oh, awesome. Bob's going to follow along. Eddie, okay. Awesome. Sarah. So what we'll do is I'm going to take it slow. If you feel for some reason I'm going too fast, please go ahead and raise your hand or type it in the chat box, slow down. I'm I'm not going to go too slow. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started. First and foremost, quick hands again, how many are currently on this page? You can raise your hands for those that are following along that you are currently in the home section here. Awesome. Appreciate that, Eddie. Okay, Bob. Good, Sarah. Good. So give it a few moments here. So far, so good. Any questions so far in this particular section based on what we showed you guys? If there's no questions, I'll ignore the chat box for now. So, awesome. Okay, great. So first thing we're going to do, I'm going to test you here. Do we select new partner or new client? Well, I'm not going to let you ask that because we're all on silent here. I'm going to select new client. So this is what you should be at this point by selecting new client at the very top. And so for today's training, what we're going to do is let's go ahead and use, for all, let's type in Robert, tab, purchase. Okay, so far so good. We should be typing in Robert Purchase. From here, if there is a co-borrower, pretty straightforward. We can identify it or enter it in. For now, we're going to exclude it. Phone number, remember, this is not going to affect the report. This data you have already captured. We want to get through this as quickly as possible. Own, this again has to do with any refinance or purchase. If it's a rent versus own presentation that you are putting together for a first-time home buyer, you would then select rent, and as you move forward, it will then ask you questions related towards a rent payment. For now, referred by, we can leave it as is, and for those that are following along, in this friendly name field, let's go ahead and type in beginner session. And the reason for this is in the nickname, in the view all section that I made mention, when you select the search field, you want to be able to make reference to each client that you create a report for. The nickname, and everyone stay right here, I'm going to show you for a moment. And so just stay right here for a moment. I'm going to show you what the view all and what that friendly name does for us. In this view all option, remember we can enter in first and last name. And as you can see, it pulls it up quickly. Now, I have a couple of here because usually that's what I use for training, but as you can see, here's an FHA versus conventional. There is a nickname and shows you a timestamp. If you do not place a nickname in front of that file, then you will only see a timestamp. So anytime this referred client comes back, you're going to have to go through each and every single file. Okay? So for now, you will see that it says beginner session. So this way, anytime you come back, you'll know who is Robert Purchase. You know exactly what that's references. Okay? So let's go back where we were. Now, from here, let's go ahead and push forward. So we should all be here in the goals section. The fourth option from support my retirement should be purchase a new home. So let's go ahead and select that as an option. Pretty difficult so far, right? Okay, so now we're going to go ahead and advance to the next step. Any other questions that you have in this section, it has to do with refinance. So for example, support my retirement, pay off my debt, tap into my equity, reduce my payment. So these other options are more centered towards a refinance, which we're not going to spend the time to do for right now. After we complete this product, I will then go into the settings, or actually before we do that, actually yeah, after that I'll show you how to create a fee template from there, okay? We'll get into creating the product first, which is what's most important. So from here, let's go ahead and advance. Now, in the assumption section, you will notice that there's one item that's identified in red. This is what will affect my presentation. So for today's training, let's go ahead and use, let's see, $385,000, or you can throw out a purchase price for me in your local area. Not $38,000. Wow, that would be great, wouldn't it? $385,000. No commas or decimal points. The moment you select the entry key, it'll populate the data for you. Okay. Original appraised value, current monthly mortgage payment, and current total payoff. This again applies more toward the refinance. You can enter in the payoff amount, and it'll apply it properly moving forward. Okay. So the original appraised value has to do with it. If you know the original appraised value from the first time they purchased a home or last refinanced, it'll bring them current as to what their current LTV is at this point in time. So sometimes this does play a part, but again, if you have a refinance client, you want to put together a report for, again, and we'll show you towards the end of the call where the help section is again and what that does. Okay, so far so good. Let's go ahead and push forward. Now, what I'd like for everyone to do, and for those that are not too tech savvy, do this. Just hover your mouse and over this affordability window, do not click. Again, just hover your mouse over the affordability window right towards the bottom there, and you should see these two jump windows pull up. Okay? Now, if you do not see them pull up, that means that you're clicking when you get to this affordability section, and you should not be doing that. So just hover your mouse over this affordability window, these two will pull up. Now, we're currently here in this can't afford option. As you can see towards the background, there's a gross income, credit status, mortgage debt payment, and so forth. Now, here at this data, these two sections are optional. So this means we're going to bypass these two for today's training, but you can get really in-depth. You can show a borrower a tax benefit based on their income. If you're not sure which tax bracket they currently identified under, you can select that Find Tax Bracket option. And if you'd like to do that, don't do it now just in case it loses you, but it'll reroute you to a secured site to help you identify where what tax bracket they're in. Tax credit, MCC tax credits, those are huge. Sometimes that could make or break a client from qualifying. So remember to enter in what the percentage is. I want to say it's about 30%, and the max could be right around 2,000. But you can use this to your advantage as well, and that's in place for you. Okay. So from here, again, we're not entering in any data. Let's go ahead and click forward. This is the second step, as you see here. More probing questions. This data we've already captured in our LOS, so let's go ahead and push forward. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create and help you create a product from scratch, because at this point, I'm going to assume that most of us, this is our first time. If I go and create the product template first and then have you bring in, it's kind of cheating. So let me show you how to create and put it together on the phone, or excuse me, on the line with us. So, delete product number 1. And the first thing we are going to do is we're going to enter in the conventional 5 and then %. So this is what the title should look like. And once you enter in the title, please raise your hand so I can make sure that we are up to this section so far. Awesome. See, all right, so I'm not going too slow after all. Good. We're all awake. It's Friday, right? One more day towards the weekend. Perfect. So let's do this. This is what it would look like if I use a product template, just to give you an idea. After I select this drop-down, for those that access this, if you do have products in here, that means that your organization has product templates already created for you, which is great news. For those that do not see and see this area blank, that means you would have to create them from scratch there. Okay. So I'm not going to bring it in, but if I would, it would populate, as we mentioned, the red fields based on how I had labeled in the settings section. Okay. For now, let's go ahead and click on this % option right where the down payment is, and you will see that it'll open up this down payment field. Enter in 5, select the tab key, and then it takes us over to the interest rate. And for today's training, and only for today's training, use 3 3/4, 3.375 with the term of 360. Okay, make sure that you do not place the years in there. We've had some originators say, why does my report look crazy? Well, it's because you entered in 30 years versus the term, so 360 months. Okay. Now, any questions here so far? As you can see, how user-friendly it is, pretty straightforward. If there is an ARM that you are putting together, you select this drop-down, enter in, or select the ARM option. The best part about this, stay there for a moment, do not move. When you have an ARM, you can enter in the details right up front and then save it. So that's the beauty of it. You never have to go back, make any adjustments. Oh, you can make adjustments if you need to, but for the most part, it'll store the data for you. Okay? So for now, product number 1, this is the first step. Let's advance to the second step, and let's move on. And here should take us to the closing cost section. For now, your section will be blank, okay? We will leave it blank. I'm going to show you on my end what the closing cost section looks like. So if you'd like, for now, just follow along and just select the closing cost details towards the top there. Okay, so now what we can do is the top right drop down. For those that go ahead and access it, again, if you have feed templates in place, go ahead and feel free to select one of those options, even if it's a conventional that you have, which is the first product. If you do not, then it will show you, again, how to create that. Now, if I select this conventional, this is the concept, is to bring in the description fields for you. Then at this point, you can either have the dollar amounts in place, or you can go ahead and fill them in accordingly based on what you need. You can also label them according to how, to what these descriptions apply, whether that's an APR or non-APR related fee, prepaid escrow fees, and so forth. And so when you select this Add Fee button towards the bottom here, and if you'd like, for those that don't have any fee templates, go ahead and select it here a couple of times, and you will see the description is $203K. But as you select this drop-down, you will now see descriptions located in this drop-down section. So from here, you can also use the alphabet letter. So if I use, for example, underwriting, it'll go directly to that source. If it has to do with credit, it'll go directly towards that source. Contributions. Okay, so that's how quickly you can get there. Now, you can also add custom fees, but again, when we get into settings, we'll create a quick one and then show you how you can put it together. But other than that, the concept is you're going to apply to the loan. And again, you will not have the fees in place. I'm going to apply for us. So I'm going to apply to the loan, and as you can see, that's what it would look like. Okay, so from here, let's go ahead and push forward to the next step. Now, how many are with me here in the monthly cost section? Go ahead and raise your hands if you can, and this way I can make sure that, awesome, perfect. Any questions so far, maybe what we've gone through, so that we can continue to either pause or continue to move forward. If there are any questions, again, feel free to use the chat box there. Perfect. Hazard insurance. For today's training, click over to the % option. It'll highlight that opposite section, and let's use 0.35. We're going to select the tab key. That'll send us over to the property tax section. Take your mouse and again click the % sign, and let's use 1 1/4. Select the tab key, and again it'll populate the dollar amount for you. All right. Mortgage insurance. We know it's 5% down. They are going to have mortgage insurance. It's not below that 80% loan-to-value threshold. So let's go ahead and click the % option, and let's enter in, let's see, 5%. Let's use 0.90. Select the tab key. And that MI cutoff % that you see at 78, that's just a buffer we give it. That's the LTV. So again, it tells Edge that once it reaches that threshold, that mortgage insurance has the opportunity to drop off when that opportunity takes place, unless they get aggressive and make an additional principal payments, of course. The reserves, let's use for today's training 2 months, and tab over twice to tax reserves, enter in 4. We're going to take our mouse, we're going to check off the 12 months premium there, and we are done. Now what I'd like for you to know here is that when you are going to use the reserves, you have to make sure that the property and hazard insurance are intact. If you do not have any dollar amounts in here, these options will not be available. And it will calculate it for you. Let me show you what that looks like. I'm going to backtrack here to closing costs. And actually, if you guys have used or entered in the 2 and the 4 months there, you can select the back key and select this closing cost details, and you would see exactly what I see as well towards the bottom. You will see the hazard insurance, the tax reserves, and the premium here. And you see the dollar amounts selected there. Okay, let's go back. Okay, are we all ready to create another product? Go ahead and raise your hands if you can, and we'll go ahead and start the additional product there. Perfect, Eddie. Thank you, Sarah. Awesome. All right, here we go. So let's go ahead and move forward. Okay, Andrea, you have a question, so let me pause quickly for Andrea's question. Let's see. Okay, so yours shows, let's see here, 274.31. Let me click over that. I think you may be right, Sarah. Let's see, 0.90. Let me change this again. Yeah, it should actually be the 274.31. So for some reason it's on my end. It could be what we call a cache issue on my end, meaning that my browsing history is just way too backlogged. I just need to clear it. So if you show 274.31, that should be accurate there. The purchase price is wrong. You know what? Let's go back and check that. You are absolutely correct. Great catch, Bob. See? So you guys are learning. You're showing me how to. You're actually training me. So great catch there, Bob, and also great feedback there, Andrea. And let's see if that should have made the change, and that should have made the difference. I was actually testing you all to make sure that you knew what was going on. So here, let's go ahead and put 0.90, and that should fix. There we go. It does fix everything. So we're all set. Thanks, guys. So now we can feel free to move forward. Now the numbers are accurate there. Awesome. Okay, so see, we just checked our own data. Let's go ahead and click Add Another Product. Actually, go ahead and select the back key for me. It'll take us right back. I would like everyone that just created this template to save as template for me. And once you save this template, raise your hand so I can go ahead and show you the second step, because you will see how it will apply. Perfect, Darren. Thank you. Okay, perfect. All right, Bob, appreciate it. So now, when you save it, you should be able to, first and foremost, it should say product number 2 at the very top. Okay. Second, when you select this drop-down, if you save the template, you should now see that template stored in there. Okay. If you do not have that template stored, then type it into the chat box, let me know. But it should be in there. Okay. So that's how you can easily save templates as you go along or beforehand. Okay, so the second product we're going to use FHA. So delete product number 2, enter in FHA. Okay, now here's a quick shortcut. Now you can use the product template again, access it, pull in the data from there. The only thing is you will have to re-enter in the purchase price. Okay, so we would have to re-enter in the $385,000, and then from there, select the drop-down, access that template, and use it. The shortcut would be this. Remember, we've already invested time in entering in the property tax, the insurance, the reserves, and some closing costs. So let's make it simple. Let's click this copy from option. You should all see this exact same window with the conventional 5% down option available. Okay? Now, you're going to select the OK option. Now, doing that, it'll fill in the data, and this is exactly what you should see. So when you get a chance to raise your hand so I can make sure that you follow this properly, and this way I'll show you the perfect. All right, thank you for following. Thank you, sir. Okay, awesome. So the minor changes that we have to make here, right? We have to change and update the down payment. So let's go there, and let's go ahead and change the 5% to 3.5. Okay, should take us over to the interest rate. For now, let's go ahead and delete it, and let's drop it down to 3.5. And again, this is for training purposes. Check your guidelines. Do not hold me by this and say mortgage coach said this is the rate. Okay, it's not happening. At the very top, purchase price, right above that, there is a certain field that we need to make sure we identify. I'm going to show you quickly that if we forget, what will take place. So I'm going to move forward. Just stay here for a moment. There's a field right underneath this contribution section that needs to appear. That's the upfront MIP, the upfront premium field. So we have to make sure that above this purchase price, select the drop-down and identify the FHA. You also have the VA, the USDA, and the single premium. The FHA is what you're going to select. Now when you do so, we're going to move forward here, and it'll take us over, and you'll see that additional field populate there. Now I want you to stay in this section for a moment. What we've done is we've made it easier. We've added the VA, the USDA, but what you're going to notice is that we've also changed the description fields. So now you would see funding fee versus just the MIP field the whole time. If it's a USDA option that you're working with, then as you advance, you'll also see that this will switch to a guarantee fee. What you'll also see is for any time you're working with the borrower and there's a single premium that's being paid up front, or in that case, here's a single premium option. That's how it'll be identified on the closing cost section as well. Okay, so just giving you a quick tip on that and what that looks like. So, does anybody know what the factor is on the upfront premium? Well, we should. If we've been in the industry for quite some time, and click over, enter in 1.75. Okay, we're going to toggle over, and you should enter in 1.75. Now, we want to make sure that we check this box off, add upfront MIP to loan amount. Okay, what you'll also notice is that in my section, you'll also notice that the closing costs have been brought over as well. Okay, as I selected the copy from option, you may not see this because, again, you may have not used those fees, but this is from the conventional option. I can go back into my closing cost details. I can then select the FHA option, if that applies in this case, apply to loan, and make those adjustments necessary from there. Okay? So for now that we've entered the upfront MIP, let's go ahead and advance to the last step there. And you should all also see the hazard, the property tax, and the reserves, and also the mortgage insurance there from the MI. And if you can, go ahead and raise your hand and let me know that you can see all that data in that monthly cost section. Perfect. Awesome. So the reason why I want to make sure you confirm is for this simple reason. On an FHA, it's a little bit tricky. FHA has guidelines that mortgage insurance needs to carry throughout the entire lifetime of that term, carry throughout the entire term there. The hazard property tax, we're not adjusting. The mortgage insurance needs to be updated. So now, this dollar amount, go ahead and click on this percent option here. And let's update this to 0.85. We know FHA has been reduced since this past January. So what this says is now for FHA, we need to make sure that we check this box off right to the right of it. It says calculate MI on balance. And we need to tell Mortgage Coach Edge how long that is to carry through. So in this case, it would be 360 months. That's the full term. If it's a different FHA product, maybe it's a 15-year and that's reduced, you can also make that adjustment as well. You would just enter it in that field. If it's 180 or if it's an 11-year term, again, you would identify and enter it in that section. Other than that, you really don't have to make any other changes from here. Now, I'm going to show you something here as to what most originators do. They will enter in the payment. They'll select tab, and there's one field that's missing. The calculate MI on balance is no longer there. So what happens is they continue to create the products and wonder why the calculations are incorrect. When you're creating an FHA, just remember, if you're taking notes, click this percent option and enter in the factor, because it is going to make a big difference in adding that calculate MI on balance. Now, let's save this as a template. The beauty of this is that you should not have to. You can reuse this template over and over again. What I would recommend is, if you'd like, you can update these factors, the property tax and the hazard insurance, to what is in your area. And then at this point, anytime that you create, it'll base it based on the loan amount that you have in place. So just keep that in mind. So now let's leave it as is. We're done with the two products. Let's go ahead and move forward, guys. So great. So you follow along the analysis summary section. This looks familiar. Again, we're going to keep it simple. Let's keep it identified as total interest and MI paid. And then what we'll do from here is we'll advance to the next step. Okay, so let's go ahead and push forward. Oh, and a quick step, stay here for a moment. I'm going to show you, to let you know, and so you have the confidence that Edge does calculate mortgage insurance for you. The MI cutoff month that you see here, the conventional option officially will carry through 103 months, and there is the 361 that you see for the FHA. So as you can see, that it does work. Okay, so let me go back. For contact, let's go ahead and enter in your address at your location. I'm going to enter in 123 Rose Street. And this would be the borrower's either listing address or their current address, or the city can also be TBD, like to be determined, but you definitely want to make sure you enter and use something here so it makes it a little bit more personal. This is what will appear on the presentation. I'll show you shortly. So let's go ahead and move forward. Now, if you're in this section, you should see the two products checked off. Now, those two products, you can, if you deselect one of them, that means that whichever product is deselected will not appear on the presentation. So you want to make sure both options are selected. At the very bottom, yours may be blank or it may be not. You want to make sure that you identify, and if it's blank in your area, make sure that you type in estimated taxes and insurance are included. And again, let's go ahead and do that for training purposes so that you can see where this payment note section applies or where it's at on the presentation. Now, it will appear with these two asterisk marks, but what you want to make sure is that you can add any additional notes if you need to. You have different options. You can also create an amortization schedule as well. Okay, so that is an option. You can send it off to your borrowers. You can let Edge do all the calculating for you, and you can send it off in that sense. Okay. For now, let's go ahead and move forward. Now, we should all see this first graph section. We're going to click forward one more time. Now, this should look familiar. Short-term savings setup. The reason why we're going to click forward 4 times is because we can make minor adjustments or last-minute changes if we wanted to. That's the only reason why these 4 graph options are in place. But for now, we should click through, and it should take us all the way to the end. Now, let's raise our hand for those that are here with me right now so I can make sure that we get this going and make sure we can continue. And this is the end. Perfect. Awesome. So as you can see here, this looks familiar again. Now, if you are going to print and still use this format or save as a PDF, my recommendation, So make sure you preview it first and then print and save as a PDF from that format. I'll show you in a moment. The clarity will come out a lot better, so I strongly recommend to not print it out from these sections. Check this box to notify you when your report has been viewed. Okay, that's very important because you want to receive either a pop-up alert or, in this case, an email alert from any borrowers that have viewed the report. So in this case, if this was my report, you can see Robert Purchase just viewed, let me see if I can expand that, the presentation for roughly 3 minutes and 31 seconds. So the moment you receive that, one of the perks to that is that this can be a borrower you sent out a presentation to several weeks ago, never contacted you, but yet you received an email today that's notifying you that that same report was just viewed. That allows you to pick up the phone, contact your borrower, and just run it by them. Listen, I received an alert. This is how I work with my presentations. I wanted to see if you had any questions. I sent that out to you about 4 weeks ago. Is there anything I can help you out with? So again, this will really can help you out a lot if you make sure you use that to your advantage. Now, the other thing is we're going to generate links. So I'd like everyone, actually, excuse me, quote date. Let's go ahead and check quote date, and the calendar should pop up. Click on today's date. Now again, you want to make sure you use this. This will protect you. If your borrowers contact you 4 months later, try to hold you to that same rate. you don't want to do that. You want to make sure that you have the date. So if you remember that date you seen on the presentation, that's the last date that that rate was available. So for now, generate link. This is where the magic happens, everyone. So here's the link. Now, what I'd like for you to do at this point is to pull up an email. Okay? For those that were following along, it's awesome, and we will make sure we get back to you. Now, of course, you're going to enter in support@mortgagecoach.com. Okay? And I want you to place your link and just type in, this is the presentation I put together during today's training. Please review, and I would appreciate your feedback. Something along the lines like that. But to give you an idea of how you can use this, let me delete this Todd presentation. And what I would do then is take my email or my link, I'm going to highlight it, I'm going to right-click with my mouse, and I'm going to copy. And by doing that, I can now place it anywhere on my email. So I'm going to paste it, hit enter, and as you can see, it turns it into a hyperlink where it's now able to be selected. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to email it to myself, and for those that again are emailing to support, go ahead and send it off. I'm going to email it to myself, send it off so you see what it looks like. And also, as you can see, it's really user-friendly. It's straightforward. You want to keep your emails short and brief, allow the link and the video to do all the work for you. You don't want to be this guy. And I'll show you what I mean by this guy. Because I remember working with LOs that would always do something like this. They would type out an entire biography, as we mentioned, no link. Here in itself, when you type out something like that, the link itself does everything for you. So I'm going to send that off to myself, loan options, send it. Now, let's click Add Audio Video. For all of us that are on this page, let's go ahead and select Add Audio Video here. That will reopen the report. There it is. You've now, congratulations, put together your first presentation. You will notice at the top left, here's my email, by the way. I'm going to select it quickly. And before I do that, let me minimize it. Actually, let me open it up so that you can see what the borrower would see. So again, here's the email they receive. They can then access it. The presentation would immediately pull up this quickly. That is the first thing they would receive is the disclosure. I understand, of course, they would select, and then your video would pull up at that point in time. So this in itself, they can go into any of these more information tabs, but they cannot make any changes on the report whatsoever. Okay? So as you can see, Robert Purchase, their address that's listed, your contact information and branding is located towards the top right, the organization branding towards the top left, which is the logo, and then also the print option towards the bottom right. When you print, you can now see that it'll pull up. You can print it out for your borrowers, use it in place of a cost sheet worksheet. It's professional, it's presentable, it's marketing you. Again, it's one of the best ways to maximize your exposure. Anytime someone sees this, it's something different that no one has ever seen before. So these 4 pages that you see are all of these additional options that you see in these more information tabs. Okay? So again, feel free to take a look at that report on your end. I mean, you've created it. Feel free to go into the more information tabs. I'm going to come in here quickly to show you quickly how to put together the in the settings section. So if you'd like to go back into Edge, and one key secret is whenever, or excuse me, the record message option, I apologize here. The record message, when you select it, again, when you add audio video, it'll pull up an additional web page for you. So you'll always have access to going back and forth with the presentation, okay? At the very bottom left next to disclosure, you're going to see a record message. Now from here, when you select it as an option, it pops up, and there it is. So, hello everyone, this is Joey. Happy Friday, by the way. One of the things, several things you want to make sure you do is in the background, you'll notice that we have a couple of banners, but maybe you don't have banners at your place, but you can use similar background. Even if there's individuals walking around, that's fine. It can be in an office location. Let me remove this here for us. Now, what I usually do is try to make sure that my background is pretty, pretty presentable. However it takes, if I need to adjust my camera as is, and I can definitely do that as well. The concept is to look straight into the camera as though you're speaking to your borrowers directly. If you don't know what to say on camera, we do have scripts, and I'm going to show you where they're at here. But these scripts you can put together, you can copy, you can edit, you can use any type of this verbiage. Again, cut it out on a, paste it on a Word document and paste it underneath your webcam, and you can use this to your advantage. So for example, how do you position yourself with clients? Well, you can copy this entire section and you can paste it into an email, and you can also read off of this. So, purchasing a big home is one of the biggest financial decisions. Anything you see in this PDF as far as the sales script, this is data that we've captured from top sales originators that use mortgage coaching. We just took bits and pieces and compiled all this data for you. What you'll also see towards the bottom when I show you where it's at is you're going to see a mortgage coach video checklist, and it's also going to provide you with questions to ask yourself, along with how was my energy during video, was the video too long, and so forth. Okay, so this is available for you. I'll show you quickly where it's at. You can record. It'll show you recording your set from there. You can record as much as you'd like. The concept is, again, if you send this off, maybe you left a voicemail, you can leave it as in place of a voicemail. Or when I'm communicating with my borrower, I can say, Robert, take a look at the top left-hand side. You'll see two different products that we will be discussing during our conversation around 5 o'clock. You'll notice the conventional 5% down along with an FHA 3.5% down, which allows you to place the minimum down possible. Payment might be a slight bit higher, but we'll discuss that further. Feel free to navigate through this presentation. Any questions you have, write them down. And at the same time, what I've done is highlighted a couple key points that we'll be discussing during our conversation. So look forward to speaking to you soon. So as you can see, I'm really just talking into the camera, having fun with this, though the borrower's with me, and I'm pretty set. So anytime I access the link, and again, I'm going to do that just so you can see here. If I can get this out of the way, there we go. Here's the link. Now watch how quickly my video pulls up. I select I understand, and voila. Now delays on this end, so don't think this is what yours is going to look like as far as looking like you're an animated character. It'll be yourself, and it'll tell you how long it's recorded as well. As you can see, that was only 47 seconds. But really that quickly, you can record, create an impact. If you like to access and create reports, then on the report you can see that anytime you surround your mouse around these blue or options here, any blue shading, you can click with your left mouse and it highlights. Okay, so when you make reference on your video, I have made a couple key highlights that we'll be discussing during our conversation. If you'd like to highlight an entire product, just click here and it'll highlight the entire product for you at that point. Okay, so you have the opportunity to also highlight graphs. If you want to click on the graph to demonstrate that, you can do that as well. So again, feel free to play with the report. Here, let me get to the very top settings section. And in the settings, it'll be over to fee templates, which I'll start off with quickly here. You will see that there are several fee templates there towards the left. I've already created those. Now what we're going to do is on your end, you should see this new option here. So with this new option, when you select it, this new fee template option should pop up. Now this can be purchased, and I'm going to put today's training. And I forgot today's date. Let's see, I think it's the 15th. So, or today's date. I'm going to use the 15th. So when you select OK, that saves it automatically. So you'll see to the right that it's going to be completely blank there. Okay, you'll see no data there to the right. However, in this blue tier here, it says template name, purchased today for $4.15. Okay, so as you can see, that's the headline. Now everyone click Add Fee here. And again, as we showed you earlier when we were creating the product, this is what's being done. So now when you select the drop-down, select you, for example, if you use underwriting. Let's assume underwriting is $4.50. Let's assume credit. Let's see, I can continue to go credit report. Whoops. You can continue, let's say, appraisal. Okay. Maybe it's processing, right? Maybe it's title. So as you can see, and you can determine whether or not the APR or non-APR related fees. Okay. At this point, once you've completed that, it's done. It's saved. Actually, what you would do from here is you'll go back to contact info. Okay. So once you've added those options, you're going to go back to contact information, and then you're going to save at the very bottom right. So as I select save, that means it's been updated. So now I can go back to that fee template, okay, and it'll be stored permanently. The reason why you want to do that is because anytime you're creating a second, a third, or additional fee templates, you want to make sure that you select save as after you've added additions. So if, for example, let's assume I wanted to remove these last three options, total $3K, these three options towards the bottom. I'm going to delete, delete, delete. I'm going to save as, and I'm going to name it purchase update. And I'm going to select OK. From there, I'm going to save it, but as you notice, it now has the two products I just put together. By using the Save As option, I can add to that existing fee template that I just created and then save it with new details from there, so I don't have to recreate the wheel and start all over again. But I do want to make sure that each time I do that, I go back and save so it updates that information from there. Okay, so now that we've put the fee templates together, let's go quickly to product template. And product template, you're going to select new. Now, as you can see, when you select new, remember we were putting together that first product. So the question, go ahead. So Andrea, you said the question as far as, okay, so you cannot hit the save on the bottom of the loan fee template screen. No, what you want to make sure is that when you hit save as, this means that when you've created this product, it's going to save the next product you created from that original one, if that makes sense. So if I've just put together this purchase today $4.15, and these were the only options, I can now add as many as I'd like. Then I can say save as, and it'll rename it as a new template. So then I can continue to save template after template after template from there. Product template, same concept. We said FHA, remember? FHA 3.5, and that's what we did. Remember, we selected the drop down, the FHA. We can leave the interest rate blank. The term would be 360, and as you can see here, these are the exact steps that we did when we were creating the product originally. So you can have these in place so that when you create the product and you bring in the template, it'll bring in all of that data. So again, when you see to the right here, and as you continue to add these options and fill in this data, the upfront MIP, you can click here, enter in a 1.75, whoops, okay, and that's it. And you can continue to fill in as much as you'd like. And the closing cost details, when you select it there towards the right, you can select the drop down. Remember the fees that we just created? So I recommend that you create fee templates first. This way it makes it easier for you to bring it into the product template you're putting together. So if I use today's, now you can see those are the options that we just used. We're going to simply apply to template, and then moving forward, and I bring in that template when we create products, it's going to bring in the closing costs, and I also want the monthly costs as well. So when you click there, you can enter in the factor based on your, your county. And there you can see you can also enter in mortgage insurance as many as you'd like. So when you do that, you select OK, and as you bring in the data, this is what it would bring in to the other section based on the loan amount. Okay, folks, we went a little bit over on that, but if you have any questions further on creating product templates, here when you select the help, remember, it'll reroute you to our Knowledge Base Center. In this featured walkthrough videos, you will see a purchase, you will see how to create an FHA, how to create fee templates. Just access the help section, and you can directly from there. Other than that, folks, take care. You have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you later.